So because we believe that application is such an important part of the cleaning and disinfection program, we've taken the time to validate what the best application equipment would be for the chemistries. Here's an example of the system that we described before that is based on the carrying of the backpack concentrate. You can see that there is a Venturi adductor system, and with that Venturi adductor system, there is an insert that allows you to actually, as a first approximation, identify which would be the most appropriate orifice tip to obtain the specific dilution that we're looking for. So for example, the fold-out identifies a nominal flow of 4 gallons per minute. If you wanted to obtain a specific concentration for those 4 gallons per minute in ounces per minute, you can look to that table and identify what is the color tip that needs to be inserted into the Venturi adductor to get that concentration. Then, by using the validation strip, you can measure how far or close are you to that target concentration. Now, there is some variation that will happen because, as I mentioned before, this fold-out is calculated at 4 gallons per minute nominal flow, and many systems have different flows than that. If you have 5 gallons per minute or 6.5 gallons per minute, you will have a slightly different dilution, which means that you probably have to move to the next tip up or the next tip down. But at least you know and you can validate it with the validation strips. So here's an example of a second type of system that we use typically in trailer washing stations. This assembly is an inline induction system that delivers in-use chemistry downstream. In this particular case, you can see that there is a side stream that contains a dip tube that goes into a pail or drum of concentrate. But there's also a bypass valve that allows you to bypass the Venturi system completely. And this is necessary especially because in trailer washing stations, typically there will only be one supply pipe of water and or disinfectant to the trailer washing bay. So when you try to use high pressure water for rinsing, it will be very difficult to sustain the pressure if the water is actually going through a Venturi adductor. Remember that in the Venturi adductor there is a constriction in diameter that forces a pressure drop, and so now the pressure of the resulting rinse is going to be much lower than it needs to be. So the way to get around this is to have a bypass. And when you open the valve for the bypass, you allow the water to flow through the bypass the Venturi tube, and more or less maintain its high pressure. There's a second type of system that we use where you see 2 side branches as opposed to 1. In those cases, there are 2 dip tubes that lead into the concentrate pail or drum. And we use those systems when we're recommending a cut of the disinfectant to be used in the detergent soak. For example, the tip inside that particular branch could be a tip delivering a 1 to 256 or a 1 to 128 dilution of intervention. The second tip is calibrated to deliver the disinfectant concentration at 1 to 64. And the valves that you see there allow the user to manipulate between a supply of 1 to 256 or 1 to 128 detergent used during the detergent pre-soak or a 1 to 64 dilution of that concentrate used during the disinfection step. The bypass assembly remains the same as before. So one question that I get all the time is whether intervention can be used for fogging. Our users have recognized that intervention can be used in fogging systems, and we have a lot of users experimenting with fogging with very good success. There is, however, an interesting paper by a group at Colorado State University that evaluated fogging with microbiological means as compared to one of the products that has fogging as an application on their label. And what's interesting is that they found that from a performance point of view, intervention in a fogging machine diluted at 1 to 16 gave virtually the same log reductions as the product that has a grandfathered fogging claim on their label at 2%.